Hey guys, it's Alvin and Jess, and we are
The Most Potato.
The podcast where you and your fellow couch potatoes can get together and discuss all things good, bad, and deep in popular media.
On today's episode, we'll be discussing Blue Beetle, and there will be spoilers ahead, so if you guys haven't watched this movie yet, save this episode and come join us after you've watched it.
Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you guys enjoy the show.
Welcome everyone to another installment of The Most Potato. Today we're talking Blue Beetle.
The greatest superhero movie of all time. Yes.
Is it better than Across the Spider-Verse?
No. No. Okay, the greatest superhero movie of this month.
Okay, that tracks.
And
that tracks.
Top contender of the year, but still under Spider-Verse. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, Blue Beetle was a blast, y'all. This is a really, really good movie. I had mixed feelings on it. On the one hand, when we saw the trailers for the first time, it looked cute and it looked fun.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I'm like, it's DC.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think I asked
And
you, I was
they've
just
been
like,
flopping.
I was like, who's Blue Beetle? And I was just like, because I had
didn't
no
know.
idea.
Yeah.
And I was just like, who's Blue Beetle? And is it Marvel? Is it DC? Either way, the trailer looked really fun.
Yeah, the energy was there.
Yeah, the energy was there. And the design, I'm like, I don't know, Blue Beetle, that blue tick from Prime or whatever. I don't know, the flea.
I used to
like
confuse them, yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, is this what that is? I don't know.
Yeah.
But Blue Beetle, very enjoyable, good time,
God.
great movie. It did what it told me it was going to do. And
it was a good time.
Yeah, it was a good time. I really enjoyed it. I don't know who's hating on it. You suck. And, you know, it I don't know what more you could want from it. I thought this cast deliver. I loved the costume for Blue Beetle. It didn't look really stupid like some things in The Flash.
Yeah.
You know? And CGI, like it was good. It did what
really
it had
good.
to do. And I'm surprised because I was worried hearing like all the buzz of hate around it, or just like, you know,
or just calling it mediocre. Yeah.
I'm just like, Blue Beetle is totally just like random to me for the DC the DC universe. I'm just like, you have your Superman, Wonder Woman, you have all these. Not once did I hear anything about a beetle at all. And you know, this movie just came in and it's just like, we're gonna just throw this one out, you guys, and I caught it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. Let's get into like all the cast and everyone. So this movie is directed by Puerto Rican filmmaker Angel Manuel Soto. I've never heard of you.
But good job.
But good job. I looked up his filmography. He hasn't done a lot of big stuff. It's like a lot of small projects.
Yeah.
This is a huge win for him. So
Yeah.
props to him. This story was written by Gareth Dunnett Alcocer. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I have no idea what type of name that is.
Just make it, put an accent on it.
Because everything is Spanish
Yes.
in this movie.
For this review, yes. In this movie, yes.
All right. So then we got our characters. We've got Xolo Maridueña.
So cute, Miguel. Cobra Kai.
Of Cobra Kai fame, yes. Who plays the main character, Jaime Reyes, a.k.a. Blue Beetle.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the legendary George Lopez playing Rudy Reyes, the uncle. We've got Damien Alcazar playing the father, Alberto Reyes. We've got Belisa Escobedo playing the sister, Milagro Reyes.
Mm-hmm.
Elpidia Carrillo playing Rocio Reyes, the mother. And then we've got Adriana Barraza playing Nana Reyes, the grandmother of the family. We've got Bruna Marquezine, who is supposed to be Jenny Cord. She's supposed to be Brazilian, I believe. Her character is a Brazilian character.
Did say she is.
Yeah. So lots of variety.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a white lady, Susan Sarandon, playing the villain, Victoria Cord, the evil aunt to Jenny Cord. We've got Raul Max Trujillo, who plays Ignacio Carapax. He is honestly the only interesting villain in this movie. We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
We've got the famous Becky G playing the voice of Kajida, the voice of the Blue Beetle suit. I honestly can't say that I've heard a single song from her, but I'm guessing she's big.
I don't know.
And then we've got Harvey Guillen, who plays Dr. Sanchez.
Whose name is not Sanchez. It's completely different, and it was a really long name, and I forgot. Apologies, Dr. Sanchez. You're a real one.
Yes, he's a worker for the Court Industries. So we just got back. We didn't just get back from watching. We watched on Friday night of August 18th of 2023.
Yes, we know what year it is, Alvin.
So, yeah, this movie came out, and sadly, it's not doing financially well, which, again, no surprise given that it's the legacy of DC films where just everything is just unplanned.
Is it at 25 mil?
Around, yeah, it made like 25 million
for opening.
So very weak opening weekend, for a high budget movie like this.
Yeah.
So we did just get back from seeing that this weekend. And man, I really hope you guys go out and watch this after a review because it's so good. So just a quick breakdown of the premise here of the movie. So after graduating Gotham Law College, Jaime Reyes comes back to his hometown in Palmera City, which is a fictional town in Texas, which looked nothing like Texas to me, honestly.
Yeah.
I never been, but it don't look like Texas to me. Where he comes into contact with a piece of high-tech alien technology called the Scarab, which grants him the power of the suit that can form any weapon that he imagines and protects him from any harm, thus transforming him into the Blue Beetle. This new superhero and his eccentric and loving family are confronted with a sinister businesswoman, and they have to stop her from taking that Scarab so that she wants to power her army of mech suits to put her company on the map. So very simple premise, which I think a lot of people are complaining about, is that it's too generic. But I'd like to remind people that like 98% of comic book movies have a very similar premise, where if you're introducing a new character, you have somebody coming into contact with something, they don't want the thing, they go through trial and tribulations, they learn that they need the thing to protect things that they care about, and then they have to beat the evil thing with the new thing that they didn't want.
A lot of things.
A lot of things.
Thinging.
So, yes, it's not a revolutionary plot, but by no means is it boring or mediocre, at least not in my eyes.
Yeah, I don't think it is at all. I can't understand how people constantly have a problem with superhero movies and this superhero movie fatigue or whatever it is you're thinking and feeling. There's a formula. There's
a whole bunch of them come with formulas.
There's formulas, and there's only so much you can put into these formulas. Now, if you have a good director and a good writer for a story, that plain, simple, basic formula can be something like really spectacular. I mean, like, look at how many fucking Batman movies there are. Like, honestly, people love them still. Yeah. And I'm just like, okay, it's Batman. It's a different Batman. But it's still a good story depending on who writes it, or it could be a shitty Batman movie that you watch. So it's just like,
just give it a fresh spin on the old stuff that because stories, they recycle everything that we've done before. There's no such thing as doing something original anymore. Just, can you do a fresh spin on this? And I'm happy to say this feels like a nice fresh spin on a superhero genre movie. Yeah. It kind of feels like the first time I watched Spider-Man back in 2002. Ooh. It feels kind of like that. I'm not saying it's as good. I'm saying it was as enjoyable and entertaining. Yeah. And it's just got simple building blocks of, we're focusing on characters and we're focusing on what they want and what they need, and those things conflicting with each other. Exactly. And it helps that he has a whole ensemble that honestly kind of outshines the Blue Beetle moment sometimes. Sometimes like the main character of Blue Beetle gets overshadowed by the uncle or the dad or like the sister, because all the family members, they all feel like individual people that I know, like in my personal life. They feel very fleshed out. They can be very zany and funny, but they're also very down to earth. Yeah. And they're just so charming. This whole family, the story of the family is really the heart and center of this story. And if you can pull that off, that's success for an entertaining movie, honestly. Yeah. It doesn't have to go so like deep into the philosophical nature of being a superhero, especially if he's just starting out. they set up the movie great, like right off the bat. I've heard a lot of people say that the first act was pretty boring for them.
Oh, really?
I fell in love with the Reyes family, and that's what got me hooked into Act 1. I mean, it's very standard stuff. Like, you have the unsuspecting hero before he gets latched onto this duty of having to be a hero. It's standard stuff, but I can't remember the last time I've seen a movie like this where the main character and his family are in the know about his superpowers.
Yeah.
It's always the main young kid who has powers. He needs to hide this from his family and friends because it's going to put them in danger if they find out about this. And they just right off the bat, when he gets the powers, the family knows.
Mm-hmm.
So let's break down like the kind of the beginning part, I guess. So he basically flies into Palmera City, which the opening shot is beautiful. It looks like it's kind of flying into Puerto Rico, kind of. And they did film in Puerto Rico, so I guess that's why it looks so much like Puerto Rico to me.
That's what I thought it was. And then I was just like, what is a Palmera City?
Yeah, I thought it was some fictional town in Florida, but apparently it's supposed to be in Texas.
Yeah.
So that was funny. And right off the bat, it's kind of sets up a sad kind of moment where you realize Jaime is reuniting with his family members after he graduated college in Gotham. So they didn't get a chance to go see him.
Yeah.
They had no money to go fly over there and visit him for graduation. They basically had to wait home until Jaime came back.
I know. He's like coming out of the airport. He has his little graduation cap and he's going down this escalator. He puts it on. He turns around to this guy that could give two shits about life. He's like, hey, how do I look? And he's just like
you're in thousands of dollars of debt. Like, damn, you dickhead.
I know, right? But yeah, and his family's there waiting for him, all excited, with, some good news and bad news, or bad news.
Well, they're trying to hide the bad news. Yeah, celebration over the bad news.
Yes.
Yeah. So quickly they set up this moment where Jaime reunites with his uncle, his father, his sister,
mom,
his grandma, his mom. They're all going out for dinner to celebrate. But then his sister Milagro quickly drops the bomb that, hey, we're losing the house.
Yeah.
Also, dad is out of a job.
And he had a heart attack.
And we didn't tell you because you had to focus on school.
Which isn't going to do you any good, just like the rest of us.
Which, right off the bat, that was just like, man, that's already hitting close to home.
I know.
I've had similar experiences. Me being a Latino myself, Puerto Rican and Salvadoran, I've had similar conversations like that. Not as bad as that, but just the culture of your family trying to hide things from you because they're trying to protect you and they want you to succeed. But sometimes they withhold things from you that you really should know about because dad could have easily died.
Right? I mean, they would have called him for that.
Yeah. So right off the bat, we get this setup that Jaime has achieved one of the greatest accomplishments that any immigrant family could be proud of, which is having a first-generation child coming out of college. But then it's got this tinge of sadness and stress and worry that Jaime also doesn't have a job secured after college, which again hits really close to home for me personally, because I spent a whole summer jobless while I was relentlessly job hunting after I got my bachelor's in English.
Well, that's great. English, liberal arts, what are you going to do with that? We still don't know.
Yeah.
Not what we thought we were going to do.
So right away, we get a picture of Jaime's situation and his family situation. And I instantly just felt for them. Not just because I've been in similar predicaments, but also they just flesh out the character so well. Each of these family members has their own personality and their own sort of philosophy of how to go about this problem. Milagro is very interesting. She's very cynical for someone who I don't think she made it to college. No, she didn't apply for college yet. She's a high school graduate.
Yeah, because they were just like, what did they say? You're like, you're the first. And she's like, yeah, and he's the last because I'm not going. They're just like, what? And
and they're like talking shit, but it's just like, I can also understand why she wouldn't go.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if you don't know what you want to do and you're going to put yourself in serious debt.
And your family's already
in the hole.
Yeah. And they're very close knit. They are that family where they are working to, keep what they have, keep their home running and stuff. So that's more important and top priority for her than digging a hole even deeper. Because Jaime, he's just like, if I would have known, I would have come back. I wouldn't have, put the family in debt. He acknowledges that his, education kind of put them in debt. So, yeah,
exactly. And I get why the family wouldn't tell him. It's because they don't want him to drop everything just to accomplish nothing. Because him coming home might risk him staying at home. So that I totally got that perspective. So that right away, that's a very realistic situation with a family with a first generation a college graduate. We also see in his area, in his hometown, that we see a huge separation of class right away.
Yeah.
In his town's basically el barrio, like it's a ghetto. Like you see the buildings are pretty torn down. It looks pretty impoverished, and then just above, the skyline, the horizon, you see high-tech buildings with freaking holograms and just sleek-ass buildings.
Yeah, they're
and right
literally
off the bat,
sitting on their roofs looking at these, like, skyscraper lights.
And we're over here, like, sitting in a village in Puerto Rico, basically.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. So right away, they're setting up that gentrification is a major problem in Palmera City.
And their house has basically been... I guess it's foreclosed, and it's going to be bought. The area is going to be bought by
Cord
Industries. Yeah, because there's like a sign on their lawn and everything.
Yep.
So yeah, that's what's happening.
Too real.
Yeah.
So yeah, this movie just likes to hit you with the realness right away, and I appreciate it. It really gets onto like the very heavy nitty gritty issues that Hispanic communities go through. And luckily, they have these characters that bring these lighthearted moments that just bring a nice balance of the heaviness with the comedy. And Jaime and his sister have a really real conversation on that roof. Jaime is trying to hype himself up, like, yeah, I'm like, don't worry, I'll get a job that'll make sure that it will keep us afloat for this house.
I'm gonna have a big mansion,
but then when he says it, he's not convinced in the face, and he's just like, I don't know when that's gonna happen.
Yeah,
and then it doesn't help that Milagro is just like, yeah, bro, I don't know what job you're gonna get. Like, how much money do you need to make in order to pay for this house?
Yeah,
because it's a real thing. Like, a lot of college students, they don't make it into a full-time position right away, and if they do, they make like maybe $20K a year. That's what I started with, like $29K.
Just to think about that.
So they have a really real conversation about what they're gonna do moving forward, and it's a very scary thing. It is really scary not knowing where your money's gonna come from, where you're gonna be living, and it's just like, it's already stressful enough for a college kid to have to deal with post college and what they're gonna do. Now you've got this on top of that. So it was so real, and it didn't feel forced at all. Everything just flowed smoothly and authentically, and I just love that introduction of Jaime's living situation along with his family situation. So I think they do like a time skip. They don't specify how far. I would assume a couple months, because it took me months to get my first job.
You think it's months?
It might have been. It could have been weeks maybe.
Yeah,
because
it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But
So Jaime and Milagro end up with cleaning jobs.
Yeah.
At Cord Industries.
And it's funny because right after that conversation where he's like, "We're gonna make it big, and we're gonna be comfortable and happy," the scene cuts to however many weeks or months pass by where he looks like he's, this rich guy, all white, sunglasses.
We see it in the trailer.
I know, that
like
nice view and stuff. And then it comes to find out he's just working at...
Scraping gum off the tables.
That his sister's putting there.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's just like, okay, well, he got a job.
Yeah.
It's not the job he was hoping for, especially since this guy's coming off of Gotham Law School or whatever.
Yeah. Damn, Bruce Wayne, come on. Hook a brother up. So, and then they quickly lose their jobs as soon as we see them working, because Jaime sees a confrontation happen between Jenny and her aunt.
Yeah.
Yes, Jenny Cord and her aunt, Victoria Cord, who is our main antagonist. They have a difference of philosophy of how to run the company. Jenny wants to be able to do good with the company, be able to save lives, and Victoria is basically wanting to be a paramilitary industry that makes weapons and makes the big bucks. So right off the bat, we're dealing with imperialism, and they even straight up say it in the movie, which is very direct, and that's fine. It doesn't need to be this like covert thing. So Jaime costs his own job as well as Milagros when he steps in to defend Jenny, and Jenny's just like, yo, meet me next day, like tomorrow, and I'll try to hook you up with a job.
Yeah.
So the next day, Jaime goes back to Court Industries to try to get an interview with her, and then quickly things go wrong, because Jenny is in the middle of trying to take this weird blue beetle shaped technology thing from a secret lab,
which from the beginning of the movie is what Victoria has discovered.
Yes, in some frozen tundra somewhere.
Yeah, it looks like a giant beetle dung roly-poly pile thingy or whatever. But yeah, so from the beginning of the movie, Victoria, you see her, she comes in, she's looking for this blue beetle scarab. And they find it. So I think it was it Jenny that realized like what she was actually trying to do, having this blue beetle thing and creating all this like
she basically knew off the bat that she was up to making weapons.
So that's why
she just didn't know the full scope
of it.
Yeah.
So she knew about the blue beetle.
Yeah, she knows all the lore.
She knows all of it, and she knows that Victoria found it.
Yes.
So that's why after Jaime and his sister lose their jobs, and she's like, meet me next day, that's what she's after. She's going to the secure area to basically steal the scarab and...
Yeah, she doesn't want it in the wrong hands.
Yeah.
So she's in the middle of doing that. She's about to get caught by security because the alarms go off. She doesn't know what to do. Jaime runs up to her and is just like, bro, give me a job, please.
He's like, I'll do you one better.
Here's a fucking beetle with superpowers. All right, she didn't say that, but she was like, you said you'd do anything, right? And Jaime is like, yeah. And she's like, all right, take this burger. She hides the blue beetle scarab in a little McDonald's like box, basically.
Yeah.
Well, not McDonald's, but it looks like a McDonald's box. Yeah. And she says, don't open it. Don't look at it. Keep it for me.
Don't touch it.
Just keep it safe.
Yeah. And
then, of course, for movie reasons, Jaime doesn't listen, and he opens the box after being egged on by his family. Because they're just immature as hell. It's so funny.
They're like, oh, you went to go get us jobs and you came back with like
a hamburger.
And they're just like, just open it. And they're really funny. They're just like, they can be so like just childish and jokey. And it's just like really cute to see all of them doing it. It's not just like the sister or the quirky
the
uncle.
Dad joins in, the
everybody
uncle, everybody.
Joins in.
It's so funny. They just can't take shit seriously.
Yeah.
So then Jaime opens the box. And he finds the scarab, and they're just like, what the hell is this? Mm-hmm. Then it activates in his hand, and as we see in the trailers, it takes over his body and starts transforming him. And it is one of the most gruesome and at the same time most comical transformations I've seen.
I know, because it goes up his butt, and then
that's what Rudy says. We don't see it go up his ass.
I know.
The Uncle Rudy is just like, it went up his ass.
Yeah, because it's like inside him, like you were saying, and it also reminded me, it was giving the Mummy vibes.
The Mummy, it was giving me werewolf movie vibes. Like, it's violent. It goes like into his spinal cord.
Yeah.
And it's kind of protruding through the skin while still being underneath, and just like, yeah, it's gross to look at. And his transformation is pretty violent. His clothes start burning off and ripping. Like, again, it gave me werewolf vibes. I was like, dude, what is he dying or transforming? Which is it?
Yeah.
His clothes are burning off, and you see that his skin is being replaced with like the blue and black designs of the blue beetle suit.
Is it like coming out of his mouth too, or was it going into the mouth? It was
coming through his face too.
It looked horrifying.
Yeah.
Like, which was surprising. I thought it was gonna be like some cute little transformation, and no.
I thought it was some morphin' time. I did not expect violent werewolf transformation.
And it looked like, it looked painful. It looked, it was scary. And
because the dude, poor Jaime is just screaming his lungs out. He's just like, Like, I don't know. Yeah. I would have fainted during that transformation, and I probably would have shit myself too. So that suit would not have been comfortable. So he finally transforms into the Blue Beetle, and it's a really cool design. I mean, it's like also goofy, like the way that Spider-Man is cool, but also goofy. It's like, why so many freaking vibrant colors? You're a spider. Just chill out.
I liked Blue Beetles.
I really liked it.
Yeah.
I saw, because I remember like a year ago or more, seeing like the still photos of Xolo in the costume, and I was really impressed with how good just the costume itself looked on set, without any Photoshop retouching, no CGI.
I know.
Just a dry photo, and I was just like, we need more of that.
Yes, he's actually
bring back the practical suits.
Yes, practical suits. It's not a bunch of like polka dots.
Yeah, like a gray suit with like 16 yellow dots and some numbers and a booger. Yeah. Like I was amazed at how good the suit looked in all the action scenes, and it's because Xolo is wearing the actual costume, and you see video clips of him like on social media of him just dancing around in the suit, and it moves perfectly with him, and it just looks so good. And I fell in love with the design. It was really cool. So he transforms, and then quickly he's not in control of these powers. The suit is basically like starting up your Apple computer for the first time. It's telling you to fucking calibrate your passwords. You gotta calibrate your freaking volumes and
turn your head this way, turn your head that way.
Yeah, I was like, all right,
here.
Time to test the jet boosters. Shoots him through the damn roof, and he flies into the stratosphere.
Oh yeah,
which was a really good shot. That could have easily looked like goofy and like rubbery, like
Fast and Furious, Car in Space type.
Or even
shit.
just go back to like The Flash with them rubber babies.
Oh good.
That movie was double the budget, and they couldn't make babies look real.
Honestly, that's why Blue Beetle's better than The Flash for me right now. We're not even. Let's not get into that. But yes,
the suit looks so cool when he's flying around. It's a nice, beautiful shot in space.
Yeah.
And apparently it was filmed for IMAX as well, because we saw the Dolby projection, which looked really good. Yeah, they apparently use IMAX cameras.
Oh.
So it panned out perfectly for me. The visuals look nice. I like that we get to see the details of the costume.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it's CGI. Like you could see the material on the damn
I never
fit.
once thought, wow, this looks really stupid and fake.
Rubbery.
It didn't look like that at all.
Yeah, definitely. So the suit takes over him. He's flying through like the ocean after it takes him into space. He's crashing through like the city, basically tearing up windows,
splitting a bus in half. Splitting as you saw in the trailer.
That was a little much for me. I feel like all these latest superhero movies, they just feel like they need to do all this extreme collateral damage at the beginning, and I'm just like, I think you should just go back to toning it down to like maybe just self-injuring a bit, like in Spider-Man 1, or maybe he hits against a billboard. I think the bus was a little too much. I mean, it was funny, but I'm like, you could have easily killed somebody in that.
That is true.
Those people were perfectly divided on either side of the bus.
I know. I was like, this doesn't look like MBTA or something like that, where you got this bus packed. I know all buses are usually packed like that, and everybody was on each side perfectly fine. Yeah. I was like, nobody's standing on this bus, because sometimes you don't want to sit next to nobody. You know?
Yeah, exactly. So he causes all this damage because he is not in control of the suit while it's calibrating on his body for the first time.
Yeah.
And then he finally makes it back home, and he's quickly in a state of panic because he can't seem to get rid of this thing that's in his body now. We see that the blue beetle scarab is still stuck to his spine.
Oh, yeah, because when he gets back home, or when the suit returns him back to his house, he wakes up naked. Yeah. Wrapped in a blanket.
It burns all his clothes. No matter how many times he transforms, his clothes are always... Which is probably the most realistic thing I've ever seen. Like, I'm sorry, Hulk should be running around naked if he doesn't have super stretchy express material clothing. So I at least appreciate the practicality that your suit's probably going to burn off. Whatever you're wearing is going to come off.
Yeah.
If this suit is protruding from your skin.
Exactly. And then it's funny because he gets up, runs to his room, freaking out, starts to get dressed. And then he's like in his mirror and he's putting on a shirt, and then he screams, and his family's on the other side of his door waiting for him to come out of the room. And they're just like, that thing it's protruding from your back. It doesn't look that bad. It looks kind of gross, honestly. I mean, it's glowing blue, but it looks gross because, ugh.
Yeah. So then he quickly takes off to go find Jenny, because she's the only person that seems to know what this thing is about, since she's the one that handed it to him.
Oh, yes.
So she is found by Jaime, but not before getting shot at by some basically military-grade soldiers that secured the building.
For Cord, yeah.
Yeah, because she's trying to steal something else, and they bring her back to the Reyes family home, and she basically breaks down what this scarab is, and it's essentially a piece of alien tech that they found that she describes as world destructive, which I can believe, because the dude almost destroyed a whole bus, almost blew up a whole building.
And in the very beginning of the movie, it shows the scarab basically traveling through space.
Yeah.
And it
makes a huge crater.
Yeah, and well, it destroys a whole planet.
Yeah.
Or a moon or whatever. It flies right through it and it destroys it. So that's like
I totally forgot that little moment.
Yeah, what? We need to, yeah, you talking about everything else except the very beginning of the movie, sir. That's
was
what
like 10
happens.
seconds.
It was, but that was, I guess, like the movie starts with what's her aunt's name? Victoria, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that sounds like a villain last name. But
Yes.
it starts with her searching for this thing, and I guess it shows us how it got to Earth, I guess.
Yeah.
Because she's been searching for it for 15 years, so it destroys, like, it can destroy a whole planet. I know Jenny is talking about like what the scarab is. I do wish throughout the movie, I know we're not like fully throughout the whole movie and going through it, but I wish it gave more background on the scarab. Like,
that is one thing that I'm missing, is there's not enough lore behind
it. Yeah.
Behind it. They just kind of like throw it in there. It's like, this is what it does. And it's like, well, where the hell did this come from? And why is it here?
Yeah. How do you guys know, or how does she know about it?
Yeah.
If we would have did a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But
it doesn't derail the movie.
It doesn't derail the movie. I think I just want to know more because like I actually ended up enjoying the movie. So I'm just like, what is this thing? Like, I want to know more.
Yeah,
you
definitely.
know? So, yeah, she's explaining what it does, and
then she mentions that she's trying to collect a watch from her dad so that she can access his secret office to learn more about this thing. So Jaime, Jenny, and I think just the uncle, Uncle Rudy, they go back to Cord Industries, and for some reason, Uncle Uncle Rudy, he has like this weird, stupid device that's like a radio jammer, essentially.
Yeah.
Because we forgot to mention that he's a radical conspiracy theorist. Like,
yes.
He's one of those guys where half the stuff he says is true, the other half is just pure nonsense, and it's funny. So he has a radio jammer because he's just always prepared to fight the government at any point, which, I mean, if half your family are like illegal immigrants, then I totally get that, honestly. You do have to be ready for who's coming at your doorstep. So they drive over to Cord Industries and they basically do this heist. There's this really funny ass moment where security guards are watching the video cameras, and then suddenly this video footage of this really old show, this comedy series that used to play in Latin America called El Chapulín, starts playing on TV. Because Uncle Rudy also calls his machine El Chapulín, which is the name of the show of this guy that's trying to be a superhero, but he has absolutely no powers and no abilities whatsoever. It's supposed to be a spoof on the superhero genre, and they just make these references that are really relevant to people that grew up with stuff like El Chapulín. I never grew up with this because that's a show from like the 70s, so that's something that my dad like grew up watching as a kid. So the security guards are just like watching the security, and they're like, what the hell is this?
One of them is actually enjoying it.
One of them is because he's a Hispanic. He's a Hispanic security guard. He looks up, he's like, hey, El Chapulín, no mames. It was just like so freaking funny how they just insert these moments that don't really add much story wise, but it just adds just really good comedy moments. So I really appreciated that. So they're in the middle of this heist. They're trying to go get this watch. Jenny collects the watch, and then Jaime has to quickly protect her from this guy named Ignacio Carapax. I forget how to pronounce his last name. I'll call him Ignacio.
Yeah.
Who is a really interesting henchman who we get no information about until like the very end of the movie, which is another like complaint for me because I feel like we should have learned about him much sooner. He's way more interesting than Victoria because I'll tell you guys right now, Victoria has no character arc. She has no sort of in-depth motivations other than she wants money and power at Cord Industries.
Yeah.
So she's one of those generic villains, which people have been complaining about, but it's like we get so many of those in both DC and Marvel movies. So as long as you have like a really interesting cast and story, I can live with a boring villain. I can't live with the fact that Ignacio is really interesting and he's underutilized.
I know.
I kind of wish he was the main villain because we'll get into his backstory later. He has his own super mech suit and they basically have like an Iron Man-esque type of fight in the streets, which looks good. It's filmed at night, and usually I can't see shit at nighttime.
Marvel.
I know. Even Game of Thrones shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the fight happens, and this is Jaime's first time fighting in that suit, and he's struggling. He doesn't know what to do with it, and the suit is quickly trying to kill this guy.
Yeah.
And it's a very effective suit. He's got him on the ropes, and the suit is like, all right, I'm ready to kill. And then Jaime is like fighting with the suit. He's like, no, don't kill this guy. I don't want to kill him.
I don't want to kill anybody. We don't kill.
But I'm like, Jaime, he's trying to kill you, bro. Defend yourself. But we quickly get this this perspective from Jaime that he's a type of person that doesn't want to kill anybody, which I can respect and appreciate. He's just the type of kid that he's a very good kid.
Not only that, I mean, you put him in this suit, or the suit violates the shit out of him, and now he's up against some random ass like evil Iron Man like guy. He doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And now he's just expected to just like kill people.
Yeah.
It's not him, and he doesn't know if he wants that to be him. So like
that's a huge thing to take a life. That's not an easy thing, especially for a 22-year-old kid that has never been in probably any fights before in general. And now, so they quickly set him up as this person who refuses to kill. And Ignacio's the total opposite. He'll do whatever it takes. Yeah. And he almost kills Uncle Rudy and Jenny in that van. But luckily, they're able to knock out Ignacio with El Chapulín machine. They do this Fast and Furious, like Tokyo Drift.
Oh yes, for family.
For family.
Jaime.
Uncle Rudy launches the radio jammer from his truck into Ignacio. They knock him out,
and they get Jaime.
And then they get Jaime back home. And I really appreciate that they don't make Jaime win this fight, because I think that's very realistic that you almost get killed on your first try.
Yeah.
I
mean, throughout the whole movie, he's almost getting killed.
I know, because
he's new. He's new to this. Yeah.
And this suit, it operates kind of like Venom. It's like being symbiotic. It's trying to like take over. Yeah. It needs a host. That's another thing that they mentioned early on in this movie, is that the scarab chooses people and it needs a host, but we never get into why it makes those decisions or how. It never chooses. Like, does it always choose a good person, or can it choose?
Worthy. Mjolnir.
Mjolnir. So yeah, again, that's going back to what you mentioned, where I wish we got a little more lore, because it's pretty random how it selects its host.
Because what, his sister, his uncle, they were like playing catch with it, monkey.
Yeah, and it never latched onto any of them
until Jaime was just like, I think it likes me. And it's like, I'm gonna kill you.
I'm gonna violate you. Rip your clothes off.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. So after that fight with Ignacio, they go back to Jenny, Rudy, and Jaime. They actually go to the hideout.
Yeah, Ted Cord's
her
father's home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing that she needed to get back from the Cord, was that watch. It's like a key to like unlock like this underground
this Batman cave.
Basically, the Beetle cave. Woo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really funny, because they get into this cave, and I'm thinking it's gonna be like really cool, high tech, and it's like these like goofy looking gadgets and suits on mannequins.
I like it. It's like nice, cute, retro. It looked like an arcade back in the 80s.
Yes, basically.
Which makes sense, because Ted Cord had gone missing basically around like the 80s.
And he was not able to, I guess, sync with the Blue Beetle Scarab.
No, it
never chose him, but he knew about it, and so he built all these gadgets and suits that would, I guess,
make him the bootleg Beetle.
Basically, yeah.
He was an OG Blue Beetle, and Uncle Rudy basically breaks down that Ted Cord was the original Blue Beetle hero, and that Ted Cord's professor, who was an archaeologist, he was a previous inheritor of this beetle as well, which is very interesting, because that means he was a Blue Beetle at some point. Like the actual Blue Beetle. So we don't get much more than that about him.
Yeah.
So Yeah, so Ted Cord is Jenny's father, who was a superhero who had to make his own man-made technology while studying the scarab. For some reason, he's gone missing, and now it's up to Jaime to figure this out with Jenny and with Rudy. And they're in this little bat cave for the original Blue Beetle, and there's yet another thing in the way of Jaime of getting what he wants, which is getting separated from this suit. We quickly learn that this scarab is connecting to all of his DNA.
Yeah.
And there's no way to pull it from him except from when he dies. So basically, if he is killed or dies of natural causes in some way, those are the only situations where the beetle will separate from your body and move on to someone else. And Jaime is just destroyed, and he's just like, man, I got to figure out what the hell's going on with my family, their living situation, like a job, and now I got to deal with being a freaking hero, and I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And it hits hard. It's just like, damn, this feels very reminiscent of Peter Parker. It's a Latino version of Peter Parker, but it's unique as well because his struggles are similar and yet very unique to someone like Jaime. And I appreciate that they have like a little heart-to-heart moment with Jaime and Jenny, which kind of makes me buy into their budding romance.
Yeah.
Where they kind of could like console each other about their struggles. You know, Jaime trying to figure out what to do with this beetle thing and with his family situation. Jenny looking for her missing father while she also doesn't have a mother because I believe she passed away.
Yeah, when she was younger.
And all she has is this freaking evil aunt. Mm-hmm. And she's just trying to make sure that nobody gets this power who doesn't deserve it.
And also the legacy of Cord is she wants it to actually be doing something helpful and productive, for the people, the environment, all that stuff. Yeah. She doesn't want any military nonsense and violence, So that's, they
take good breather moments to have character moments in between. Not super deep and super philosophical, but just enough to keep fleshing out these characters a little more.
And not make me be like, why are they sucking face? Like at the end of the movie, like why are they a couple or something?
Yeah, there's
like
at least I felt like there was like a natural progression in the romance between Jaime and Jenny.
And it wasn't constant too. You know how like in some movies they're just like, oh, let's do this look, let's do this touch, let's they
like each other because they're good looking and the script says so.
And also Jenny, like looking at Jaime and his family and stuff, she does not really have that too, and she can appreciate. She longs for it and she appreciates it. And she sees in Jaime like, wow, he has this and he's really cares about his family. Mm-hmm. That's also a personality trait that she likes, and that's where that grows for her liking him, and vice versa. Yeah. So it's like there's stuff there that they both see in each other or want for each other, and that's what I like, because that moment when they were alone after was that after he got upset about the suit or whatever. Mm-hmm. Or before? I
think it was before.
Oh, it was before. Yeah, it was before they were talking. She's like, yeah, my mom died. And then Rudy walks in on them. She's like, nothing happened. He's like, her mom died. And I was just like, that made me laugh. I bust out laughing in the theater.
The comedic timing is so good.
So funny. I was just like, what? I was like, we didn't ask. Why? Yeah. But yeah, that was.
And that was the moment where Uncle Rudy breaks the news to Jaime that they can't separate the beetle from him.
And so he storms off. He's all upset. But, Rudy goes after him, and he's just saying like, it. Oh,
they have a good conversation. Yeah. It hits heavy because again, this is something that a lot of immigrant families kind of talk about, especially intergenerational ones. Whenever there's like a difference of like agreement or opinion between like a child or a father figure or any older parental figure, they talk about this sense of duty, which is a superhero thing, but it's also related to Latino culture, which is, sometimes you're going to have responsibilities that you don't want and you're going to have to do it. Yeah. Jaime needs to figure out how he's going to support his family, and being the Blue Beetle is unfortunately one of those responsibilities now. Uncle Rudy says, your father had to come to this country and, do everything for us, not because he wanted to, but because he felt that he had to. Mm-hmm. And it's not like the most encouraging thing to hear. It's not inspiring, but it's like it puts things into perspective, because Jaime is in a position of a certain power now where he can do good with this suit. And it gives him this revitalizing moment that he does need to accept that he is the Blue Beetle now, and he needs to make the most of it.
Because it's literally do or die. honestly, because
It
it's
is.
like if you don't want it, you could go die. But if you if you want to, take charge of this and work with it, then you do that. And Rudy's like, we're here to support you. Your family's here, and basically just add it on your plate. And we got you, and you got this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a good moment.
I think that's something that just anybody can relate to from any perspective. I'm actually going to take my dad to see this movie, which is really exciting. I hope he likes it.
That's cute.
Because I think about him a lot when I hear those types of stories of having to carry out responsibility for your family. Because my dad had immigrated here when he was young because he knew he wanted to build a family somewhere a little more stable than where he was coming from. And that's the kind of responsibility that Jaime has now, where he has to pave a new path for his family. He's got a college education. He's got these superpowers. They don't come with guarantees, but he has to make the most of those powers now.
Yeah.
And then quickly after that moment of realization, he sees off into the distance there's a Cord helicopter going towards his house, and they're like, oh shit, like they're infiltrating our family.
Yeah.
So Jaime he darts off, and this is where we get probably into the darkest point of the movie for me, for me personally. So Jaime makes his way back home, and we see that the helicopter is from Cord Industries, where Victoria's in there and Ignacio. There are two main villains.
Yeah.
They have a bunch of soldiers with guns pointed at the house, yelling at, Jaime's sister, his mother, his grandmother, to get out of the house, and his father as well. And it's a really intense moment. All the any moments of levity, they're gone. It's really heavy how they're just being forced out of their homes. They're being yelled at. There's guns pointed at them. Everybody is like crying. Like the sister, this is the first time we see Milagro break out of her shell, where she has this hard exterior.
Yeah.
And she feels very vulnerable, and she feels like her family's being violated because she's being forced out of her home. They're out on the front lawn
too. Like you have those shots, those moments where it looks like she's holding the mom's hand. They're all holding hands, actually. The family.
They're all holding each other.
They're all holding each other, and they're holding hands. And one by one, they're being ripped apart from each other by the Cord soldiers. Yeah. And those moments are really, really important because it's just like they are such a tight unit, like this family, like they are there for each other. And to see them being like ripped apart and pulled outside the house, it was pretty intense. It was. And I'm just like, where's Jaime? Is he gonna make it in time? What's going on? I thought it was gonna be a moment where the family's captured and taken somewhere, but he does get there.
Yeah, he gets there in time to defend them because Victoria gives the order of firing on the family.
Yeah, bitch.
And that's to say the least. So Jaime defends the family from all these bullets. He's able to project a shield with his wings. And I was just like, wow, this is really a cold fucking bitch. Like, she was really about to sacrifice this whole family to see the capabilities of this suit, because that's all she cares about. Again, generic standard villain, but it works in this moment because that coldness and that callousness is a very real thing that we see every day when we hear about families being ripped from their homes, undocumented immigrants who come here to the United States to make better lives for their own lives, because they had to leave their homes that the United States kicked them out of because of their military power, basically installing dictators in all these other Latin American countries. And it's just like, it's almost feels like there's no escape for these kinds of families.
Yeah.
Like, you even hear about Haitian families being forcibly deported from U.S. or from Dominican Republic. It's a very real thing. And to see that play out in a superhero movie was kind of like a shock to me. I didn't expect it to go that direction in this movie.
To feel those vibes of that.
I felt so much. It started with me feeling anguish and like sadness and fear, seeing the families being torn apart. You know, everyone's crying. The father's yelling at everyone saying, don't worry, everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And then I quickly start getting angry when Victoria's trying to like really put the pressure on Jaime to protect his family by doing whatever it takes to try to hurt them. And I go right back to just complete heartbreak when Jaime is distracted because his father, Alberto, starts suffering from cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
And the other family members are screaming and crying about it, and they're trying to like revive him. Jaime gets distracted by that, which causes an opening for him to get captured by Ignacio, deactivating his suit.
Yes.
So now we get an image of this family trying to resuscitate the father. We've got Jaime getting forcefully dragged onto a helicopter, and he's screaming, like yelling, crying out.
And there's nothing that he can do.
It just feels like, man, this feels like all those stories I hear about ICE on the news. And it broke my heart. I was clenching my fists. Like, I really wanted to just like hit something.
I was crying. I was crying.
Yeah.
I was dabbing my tears away because it was really, really intense because the father, you had the 4 family members, and the sister, she basically was getting shot at, and the father, that's why the father stopped, went back, and he told his wife and the grandmother, go hide somewhere. So he was going back, and then one of the soldiers just, knocks him in the face. He's on the floor, and as they're trying to get away, that's when he goes into cardiac arrest. And it was like, I couldn't believe it. I said, I know they are not about to kill this daddy right now. I know they're not about to kill this man.
He's so wholesome.
He's so wholesome. He's very important to Jaime, to the family. And I was just like, how are they? Because he's kind
of the rock of the family.
He is. And I said, how are they gonna, like, how? Like, that's all I can think. How are they gonna get past this? How is Jaime gonna get past this once he realizes? Because like you said, he's captured, being taken away. The last thing he sees before he passes out is his father on the floor. We don't know what's going to happen to him.
Yeah.
His family is at the mercy of these people who are just about to shoot at them.
Yeah.
And he is taken away. And with that scene, we see that the father, the ambulance comes, and the father's in the ambulance, and they're trying to help him, but it's too late. He passes. And the realization on the sister's face, the wife, the
looks on their faces.
And
I almost cried. I don't know how I didn't cry because I felt like crying. It's very hard for me to cry, which this should have just sent me bawling because Jaime is better than me. I would have killed them motherfuckers.
I know.
And I know he's not supposed to kill them. That's his philosophy. They set it up in the beginning of the movie. That's fine, but he's a better man than me. I don't know. He's better than me because if I saw just the fact that they fired on the family, that would have been it. Like, I would have been like, all right, Kajida, kill mode, go off. Let's go.
But he wasn't doing that. He was using moves that would just knock them out and knock them out of the way. And
again, he's new to the suit. He's new to fighting. This is new to him. He's not used to that. So, of course, it's going to be way harder for him to figure out what it is to do in this situation because he doesn't want to kill people, but he has to protect his family.
And I don't.
So it made sense why it played out this way.
I don't think he really understands the threat still of what's going on. I know he had that fight with Ignacio, who was basically gonna kill him.
Yeah.
But I mean, he hasn't interacted with Victoria until he's captured. Yeah, right.
Exactly.
And I just don't think he like really understood until that moment when his dad is in cardiac arrest and no one's trying to help him. There's no one there to help him. I don't think he really understands the gravity of like what the situation he's in really is. So that's what really sucks too. I mean, throughout the rest of the movie, he still doesn't kill. He does come to that point where he's going to at one point.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But he still has this, we don't kill, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So Rudy and Jenny, they finally make it to the house after everything basically went down, and that's when they realized that the dad passed away. And it was really, really sad. And
and they don't have time to grieve because Nana, the grandmother, she has a great monologue of basically saying, we don't have time to grieve right now. We have to mobilize and we have to save Jaime because now we've lost Alberto, we can't lose Jaime too.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that the family is actively involved. Granted, it's the most unrealistic thing because it's like, how is this family fighting a corporation? But I buy into it.
Yeah.
I buy into it. And the grandmother mobilizes everyone to, grab your things. We're going to go grab the giant Beetleborg that they showed in Ted's hideout, and they're gonna go storm that Cuban island that has the fortress where Jaime is being held.
Mm-hmm.
So they're gonna leave Palmera City in Texas. They're gonna go over to Cuba and save Jaime from captivity, and I love that because up until this point, the family feels just like a main character as much as Jaime is a main character. So it made sense why the family was going, after Jaime to rescue him. So they get their belongings. They've on their way there. They're plotting out exactly how they're going to infiltrate the place. Nana pulls out a gun and I think I think Milagro asks like, how do you know how to use a gun?
Oh yeah.
And she goes into a whole spiel of like, oh, I fought in revolutions, but that's a story for another time.
Oh yeah,
there's always one of those.
She has her little braids tied up, and then she like unpins them, and then she's got these long braids, and it was just like so funny. I was just like, what? You're not gonna tell us about this right now?
I want a prequel movie of Nana Reyes, the revolutionary.
Yeah.
I want to know about this revolutionary fight, but I'm like, all right, whatever it takes to buy into Nana carrying a big ass heavy Gatling gun.
Yeah. So they're on their way to, go save Jaime, and they come up with a plan, or Nana's just like, okay, this is our plan. You guys are going to go distract. You guys are going to go blow up the power source for this, hideout plant area. Yep. Because we cut to Jaime and he's like hooked up to like this machine, like Think the Incredibles with Mr. Incredible or something like that,
Every single movie where you have a guy stretched out, all four limbs just
stretched out. Yes.
Yeah.
So he's hooked up there, and basically what they're gonna basically pull his scarab juices out of him.
Scarab juices.
And because they need that. It's like to sync it to the machine that Ignacio's in, and these other machines that they
like
can use.
Like a whole army of them.
Yeah, a whole army. I think she has like 1,000 or something. If they can just pull that like information from the scarab, they can sync it to all these other military devices. So Ignacio is going to basically be the guinea pig for this. Yeah. But they have what they need. Like they have the formula to do it. So that's what happens with Jaime. He's hooked up. They start the machine, and he's just being drained basically. Yeah,
and then he gets put into a state of unconsciousness, and they leave
like
it.
Black Panther, like it gave those vibes.
I was just gonna say, like we low key visit Jaime's personal ancestral plane.
Yeah, that's what it felt like, right?
He goes into this dreamlike state where he reunites with his dead father, and the environment it looks like Jaime's home. He walks through the apartment. And he walks into the room where we see his dad watch TV all the time. And I remember when early in the movie when Alberto is flipping through channels, there's like a bunch of references to old shows and movies that, again, I didn't grow up with, but they were popular, back in like the 70s and even before. There was like this movie or something playing on the screen where there was like a field, and it was all black and white. It's like this grand field full of candles, like lit candles in the dark. And it jumped out at me when they first saw it, and it was only for a split second that it was on screen. And then that image is put on full display when he sees his father. Behind it's just like almost like an infinite field of candles in the dark. And it looks beautiful. It gives me these vibes of Dia de los Muertos, like we see in Coco. And it was like a really beautiful moment. It felt like the ancestral plane in Black Panther.
Yeah.
And they don't even explain what this is exactly. It's just supposed to be Jaime being able to reach out to his father one last time. And there's a beautiful interaction with the two. Jaime is at a loss. He doesn't know what to do. He's broken about his father being gone. And his father tells him that he needs to embrace this suit. He needs to move forward. He needs to embrace his duty. And he says that I'll always be here for you. And oh God, I'm getting emotional just like talking about it. I'm trying not to break down, but it was just like a really just beautiful send-off moment with these two. They get to say goodbye because Jaime was ripped away from him while he was dying on the floor. Yeah. And it was so gut-wrenching to see. And for him to have this one final moment with his father, and to also get a chance to be able to synchronize with the suit after talking with his dead father, saying that you need to embrace the suit and you need to embrace your new identity as the Blue Beetle. I thought it was like such a lovely, beautiful moment, and it works for me. They didn't have to really explain if he went into another dimension or if it was just in his head.
Yeah.
It works either way for me. The whole point is that Jaime gets a realization that he needs to fully embrace who he is and what he has now. And that helps him power through and bust through that contraption that he's trapped in the laboratory. But they still drained enough power from him to power up Ignacio's suit. So they're about to get into this fight soon. Jaime makes an escape thanks to
Dr. Sanchez.
Dr.
His name
Sanchez.
is not Sanchez.
Yeah, he goes in. We fall every once in a while. We get these scenes with this very meek, very awkward, and very timid scientist who works with Victoria. Who I don't know how he got offered the job because his personality just isn't right for somebody who's so evil.
Yeah,
I feel like he would have hesitated so much from the start that he would have been fired. Like he's easily, like, you could tell from the beginning that he's just somebody that's conflicted about everything he's doing at his job. And then finally he allows Jaime to escape by opening the hatch, and he cusses out his boss Victoria, saying like, "I'm not Dr. Sanchez. I'm ta 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 ta." He lists like 7 different names. De la Cruz.
That's all you got.
And I was conflicted about. I wish they did more with his character because they give him enough screen time where he seemed like he was gonna do like a switcheroo where like he leaves Cord to go join Jaime. I wish that would have been a thing where they could have had an inside man in there to make things easier. But that's how it played out. Again, it didn't derail the movie for me. I just felt it was just like a really kind of weird forced moment in there where he gets a moment of heroism. And then in that instant, he also gets squashed like a bug and just gets killed by Ignacio, which gruesome. Like they actually show some blood splatter on the window of the door.
Yeah,
I was just like, come on, did you have to kill him?
You didn't. They didn't. They really didn't.
Yeah, it felt like a little like that was like one of the few moments where I felt like there was a clash of tones. But it is what it is. It played out that way. So the doctor gets to help Jaime escape while he is running through the hallways trying to get his freaking suit to reboot and recharge. Because rebooting's always a pain in the ass.
Yes, it really is.
It always takes forever. So Jaime's trying to make his escape, and Ignacio is on the run as well to try to get Jaime. Meanwhile, the family finally busts through the whole courtyard of this compound with the giant Beetleborg.
Yeah, squishing people like bugs.
Yes. Yes. And I forget to mention, they got some good needle drops in this movie. They've dropped so many like different varieties of music throughout the movie. Like I remember like at the beginning when, you know, Jaime lands into the airport, they play some like classic reggaeton from like mid 2000s. They also have like Mexican cumbia music from like the 80s playing in moments. And then now we got like this classic 80s metal rock from Motley Crue playing while the Beetleborg is just casually stomping and squishing these soldiers, like easily, obviously killing people, which the Reyes family has no problem doing.
Yeah, it's just Jaime that's not with the times.
Yeah. Jaime got to be a revolutionary first, and then he can be comfortable with killing. Yeah, it's so funny to see how Jaime is very reluctant to kill, and his family is just casually mowing down people in the Beetleborg. We see later on that Nana helps Jaime escape from some soldiers by gunning them down in front of his face.
Yeah, she like legit pushes him behind. I don't think his suit's ready yet.
It's not. It's rebooting.
It was still rebooting. She pushes behind and she just lights them up. And then he's just like, "Oh wow!" And I was
he actually looks kind of conflicted in the face.
Yeah,
but he doesn't say anything either.
Yeah.
So
I like that. I like that the
you
family...
mentioned that you like that, yeah.
Yeah, I like that the family's willing to do what he's not, especially because he is Blue Beetle. He is the one with the powers. He's the one with this super strength and all these, you know, tech and swords and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He is that, but there's still parts of him that's still growing and conflicted. And I like that the family is part of the unit. They're like his, like, his Robin or something like that.
Yeah.
And they're willing to do what he can't.
Yeah.
And to save him, to save each other. And that's what I like about it. So I'm okay with him still not being able to kill people, even though like things are really like really scary and violent right now, you know?
I know I mentioned after leaving the movie that I had a problem with the fact that there was no confrontation between Jaime's philosophy and his family's philosophy about taking lives.
Yeah.
But I feel like the more we talk about it, the more I feel like it would make sense that he may not have a problem with his family doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Because these people are older. They've been through a lot more that he hasn't gone through. Mm-hmm. And also he's one of their babies. These are all like paternal figures to him. The uncle, the grandmother, the mother. They will kill for their children. That's a sentiment that the parents will feel for their children. They will do anything. They will kill and they will die for their children. So I feel like the more we talk about it, the less I have a problem with, and like them not having much friction and butting heads about Jaime not wanting to kill people.
Yeah. And
the family having no problems mowing them down. Because it's all for the sake of helping him.
Because the sister doesn't kill anyone either.
No, she kills suits. Her and Jenny blow up some like suits, but they don't kill anyone, at least not directly.
Yeah, it's like in Fast and Furious when Dom's son killed those people.
Oh
but
my
it's
God.
indirectly. So it's not really.
It was he pressed a button and people died. That was his first body count and he's 8 years old. He's already got a body count.
Indirectly.
He pushed the button. That's directly.
He was told to do it.
He pushed the trigger.
He was told.
I blame his uncle too.
Yes, see, so it's the uncle. But yeah,
toxic family.
The sister didn't, and at some point, Jaime comes to rescue the sister who's in a bind as well too.
After he's finally rebooted, and the suit looks so good in action. Yes. Oh my God, when he walks in, and, he looks like a badass. He got like this cute baby face, but when he's mad and he's like storming in, he's like, "Get the hell away from my sister!" Puts on the suit. Starts kung fuing the shit out of these fools, like breaking everybody's back. Some of them looked like they could have died. He hit them pretty hard in the head.
They're just sleeping. Jaime wouldn't do that.
And again, the choreography actually did look good. It actually looked like...
You can see it.
You could see it. There's nice wide shots, long takes. The lighting was nice enough for being at night in a dark hallway.
Yeah, in a tunnel,
So it was really good to see that they actually put effort into the action as well. Because he does well. I like how I don't know if the suit gives him martial arts type abilities or if he's had experience with hand-to-hand combat. They never explain it. But then again, Spider-Man also never took martial arts before getting powers. He just knows how to fight.
He's Cobra Kai. He's part of Cobra Kai, so that's why.
Yeah. So he saves his sister from a couple soldiers. He's back in action. All the mech suits get blown up, and there's a huge opening that's made in the compound. So Jaime's trying to get all his family members out to safety while he has to fight Ignacio again in his newly powered suit. And this was a fight that also actually looked pretty good. There were some moments where I couldn't tell what was going on, but for the most part, it worked. I mean, because now they're flying around, so there's a little more CGI involved.
Yeah.
Compared to when Jaime is doing hand-to-hand combat on the ground with regular foot soldiers. But for the most part, the fight is intense. It's good. I think at some point, Jaime gets cornered and Uncle Rudy is trying to throw a distraction. I think he has like 2 pairs of random coconuts.
It looked like
coconuts.
It did. I was just like, what
and I forget the line he says, but he says something funny. He's like, "Hey, suck on these," and he just throws coconuts at freaking Ignacio. And then Ignacio seemingly kills Uncle Rudy by blowing up the platform that he was on, he was standing on. And Jaime thinks that he's eradicated basically, and he's in a rage. So he gets this new power, well, not new power, reinvigorated power to fight. He is angry, he is rageful, and he takes the fight all the way out to a further field, and it's just them two now. And Jaime is just pounding away at Ignacio. And, we see that he's about to actually kill this guy. Like, he is punching him in the face. The mask is off. He's about to deliver the finishing blow. And essentially the suit, for some reason, tells him, no, don't do it. And then literally physically stops him from throwing that punch. Because we see in an earlier scene.
Sword he pulled out.
Huh?
Wasn't it like he pulls out another sword and
there was a
right
sword
before
protruding. Yes.
he was about to stab Ignacio.
Yeah.
That's when what's
That's
her
when
name?
Kajida
Kajida, yes.
tells him, Kalel, no.
No. Oh, no, it was nothing like that, guys. We don't have that nonsense here. But she tells him no, and she was just like, I was able to
download his memories.
Yeah, Ignacio's memories.
Because when he was hooked up in the machine, there was
Yeah.
a transfer of memory data as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we get a quick reveal that Ignacio was a child soldier by force by American governments that infiltrated his country. I don't think we see specifically what country. I would assume somewhere in Central America, because the United States has infiltrated almost every single place that you can imagine. We see that he's in this like labor camp as a child. Like he looked like he was 7 years old or something, like training to hold guns and stuff. We see later on that he gets picked up by Victoria, and she's like, yeah, this one, I want him.
Mm-hmm.
Like basically becomes a forced lackey. And I think at this point it's kind of revealed that Ignacio was essentially brainwashed by Victoria.
Yeah.
Whatever he was doing up until now wasn't really his decision. So since childhood, he was always forced to fight for American powers, and he never wanted to do any of this. And it was hinted at when he kept holding this locket of what is revealed to be his mother, who died in a bombing in the village.
Mm-hmm.
We see moments of that earlier with the locket, and then now we see it again here when Jaime has that realization. And this is the moment where I'm like, man, this is really good, but man, this should have been revealed sooner in the movie. It should have been at least sprinkled out throughout the movie a little bit more gradually.
Yeah.
Because it just feels so sudden, and then now this henchman that's like just been this one-note bad guy suddenly has more dimension in the last like 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. I mean, there are moments I felt like when Ignacio and Victoria were like interacting, they were talking, or she was basically like, she was talking mostly. There are these moments where she's just like, oh yeah, this is for the greater good, this is for me, this is for you, you're gonna be better, I'm gonna fix you. And there's not like moments of like pure doubt or like, oh, I'm gonna like, go against this woman or something like that. Yeah. It looked more like confusion. There were times on his face where I felt like he was like maybe about to question something, but just going along with it. Mm-hmm. And that flashback when we see like how he lost his mother, it was because a bombing on the village where he lived or whatever. Those were cord bombs. Yeah, those were cord bombs that fell on his on his village. Those were the ones that killed his mom, and then he gets taken in by the same people that destroyed his life, took away his childhood, experimented on him, because we see that from the beginning of the movie, he has like a metal Iron Man type arm. Mm-hmm. I think even a leg too as well. Mm-hmm. So like, she's just like, I will fix you. But she's really the cause of everything. So she probably was brainwashing him or something to keep him controlled. Mm-hmm. So all that flooding back, I don't know if it's because of like the scarab, maybe he finally has a moment to like take control and express what he's really feeling towards Victoria, towards Cord, and also everything he said to Jaime. He was telling Jaime early in the movie, he's just like, you're weak because of your love for your family, because of that connection that you have with them. And at this point, when he's finally he's bested by Jaime and stuff, I think that's when he, everything's unlocked, everything's released, his emotions. And he's just like, you have your family and stuff, and
go protect them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go take care of Victoria.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're at the climax. So the fight is over, and Victoria is now exposed as well, because she's in a helicopter with Jenny. Jenny is able to take down the helicopter after chewing her dad's special gum that no one ever explained what it was, because we had to see it in action. So she chews the gum, spits the gum on the wall. The gum just starts expanding everywhere. Yeah. And basically brings down the helicopter. And we see that Ignacio sees Victoria, goes up to her, and we see that he's going to kill her, and she knows it, and she's trying to plead for him to, change his mind, and that she's going to help him. And she sees that it's not working, because she sees that the brainwash is over. And he does something that I wish he didn't do. I wish the writers didn't do this. He is setting a self-timer on his suit and blowing himself up to take out Victoria. I'm like, you could have just shanked this woman. You could have put the bomb on her and you could have left. But I was like, why'd you go with her?
There was no bomb. It was his suit.
I'm saying put the bomb, put the suit on her, blow it up on her, but don't go with her.
Yeah, no, the suit's part of him, babe. There was nothing there. And then I felt like I didn't like that, he also sacrificed himself in, like, I guess, ending this, but what more was there for him? I felt like that's what he felt. That's what it felt like for him. Like, this is where his story ends, and to finally meet with his mom.
Yeah.
To meet with his family, be with his family. Because how long do you think he's been under Victoria's? Like, because she said she's been looking for the scarab for 15 years. Who knows what she was doing before that?
Yeah, he looked like he's in his 40s, and he was with her since childhood. Yeah, essentially. And
his whole life is basically, because when I saw the locket, I thought it was maybe a wife and his son. I didn't know the picture of the people and stuff like that. It's like maybe he has someone to get back to, but he has nothing since a child, no childhood. Most of his adult life, he's just been controlled. He's pretty much, he had something, but he's pretty much grown up to being like an empty person. There's nothing there but control,
I totally get why he would do it. I just totally disagree with doing it anyways. I just feel like there's still so much that he could have lived for. It wouldn't be exactly what he wanted because everything's gone for him. But I'm a firm believer of finding new ways to, reinvigorate your life, find new purpose. If you still have a lot of life left, it's not like he was like a dying elderly man either. He had plenty of years ahead of him.
I don't know. I think he would have just ended up in prison because he killed a lot of people, babe.
The family's going to end up in prison too because they killed people too.
That's different, indirectly.
So that's cops never get involved in these movies because it complicates things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally get why he did it, but I really wish he didn't do it. It would have been nice for him. Maybe he could have found family with the Reyes family. He could have been a nice family friend who fights crimes with Jaime.
Nah, you killed my dad. Like, what the hell? You're part of the reason my dad's dead. I can't.
It wasn't him like directly.
It was him. Just because he's mind control, it was him. If he didn't catch Jaime, we would have been able to save the dad somehow, some way.
Forgiveness.
You almost killed me once. You tried to kill the taco with Rudy and Jenny in it, and yeah.
So unfortunately, Ignacio does take his own life along with Victoria. So at least Victoria is gone. So now we are reunited with the whole family again. They're on the helicopter, or they're on the. Were they flying away in the Beetle board?
Yeah. Beetle, yeah.
And then the grandma goes, okay, now we can finally cry.
Right, yes.
And that was a nice, beautiful moment of the family being able to hug each other, hold each other, and finally grieve the loss of Alberto. Because they had to do all this fighting right after losing him. All these events took place literally within 24 hours of Jaime getting the suit. It hasn't been a week. It's been a whole day.
Yeah.
These dudes have not gotten any sleep, no dinner. And there's been so much trauma. It's insane. So they have a nice, really beautiful moment of them embracing each other.
Jenny included.
Yes. Because now she's part of the family as well.
Yes.
So now we are back home. It's the next day. Everyone is sort of mourning the loss of Alberto. They're home. They're trying to figure out what their next steps are. The whole neighborhood is coming and pouring in to the family with lots of like food, a lot of condolences, which I really love. I love that they put in that sense of community. That's a huge thing for, not just Mexican families, just anyone in general. And it's really beautiful to witness. So we get a moment of Jaime kind of reflecting with his family, trying to decide what they're going to do next. Jenny comes by to pay her respects, and she basically comes and promises them that she'll be able to save their house so that they never have to worry about living situation again.
Yeah.
Which is unrealistic because I will never see a super powered rich company ever do nice things for people, but I get that this is a superhero movie.
Jenny's technically in charge.
And Jenny's in charge.
And it's their fault.
Yes.
Court's fault.
She's got to have a lot of power because usually there's so many executives that get in the way of your decisions too. Yeah. So I wonder if there's going to be a sequel. I highly doubt there will be, but if there's one.
But she probably got her own money too. So even if execs like, no, we can't use court, she got her own money.
Maybe, yeah. She could be like, her own Bruce Wayne.
Either way, the Reyes family get a new house.
Yes.
Jaime got himself a rich
new
girl.
rich girlfriend. The solution is get a rich girlfriend. If you are getting a foreclosed home, you get yourself a nice rich girlfriend.
Please don't say that. There's actual people out there that do that. Yeah.
Jaime has a nice rich girlfriend now.
Oh, yeah. And she gets Uncle Rudy, a new truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they totally destroyed the taco or whatever it is he was calling it.
Yeah. Yep. So, and then the movie basically wraps up with everyone getting their second chance. And it's like not the strongest ending, but it was good enough of an ending for everything to be tied up. Mm-hmm. And I by the end of this movie, I fell completely in love with this movie. Everything just flowed really well. It was super entertaining. There was so much heart with the family story. If that family story wasn't at the core of it, it would be a generic, very by the numbers type superhero movie.
Yeah.
And again, it's just refreshing to have somebody who's a superhero not doing it all on their own. They have their family involved and knowledgeable about the fact that this kid's a superhero, and they know that their lives are always going to be at risk, but they're always going to put their lives at risk for him.
I think that's what always drags out the other movies is like the secret. And it's just like, how do they not know about it? And then the hero has to do all these stupid, like beat around the bush type, scenes and all this stuff just to like get something done. It's just like, if the family, if the friends, if the mom, the dad just freaking knew about this, we would shave like 30 minutes off this movie.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't feel like, oh my God, this is so long. It's a waste of time. Oh, we have to go change behind this porta potty over here and then pretend we didn't. Yeah. I like that this particular hero, it didn't have to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, definitely. And it makes this movie stand out because there are so many movies that use the standard trope of the hero having to keep a secret identity, which again, it works very well. And there's valid reasons for why somebody wouldn't tell their parents or their loved ones why they're doing this. But it's just so refreshing to see a story of somebody who is already going through enough struggles. It seems impossible for him to go it alone, especially not knowing what this suit does.
Yeah.
And having the family be that support and that rock no matter what he goes through. It makes this a very culturally impactful moment for me in terms of superhero movies. As far as I know, this is the very first live action Latino superhero movie. And I think they really nailed it with this one. I know that it's not making the money that I think it deserves, but I think it is a very culturally important piece of film. Because this is the first time I get to see someone that looks like me and sounds like me up on the screen in live action. I've sung my praises for Across the Spider-Verse, how we finally have a superhero movie that's an Afro-Latino who is going through very real struggles that most kids that love Spider-Man go through. And I feel like this is just another one on that wall to join those kinds of stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to be as hugely impactful as Black Panther was. And most of it really is because of the detrimental reputation that this DC company has had for the last couple of years, where they've rushed into this cinematic universe, not having plans, having a lot of bad movies, and then people not trusting the brand anymore. So now a lot of people are just not going to see this movie. I totally get why people aren't going to the theaters for this. And it doesn't make it any less painful for me. I really want people to go see this. And
yeah,
I mean, who knows? Maybe this will become like a cult classic once it hits streaming, and then it gains a lot more like viewers and a lot more popularity with people. But this is a movie that's definitely worth watching in the theater. At least I think so.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say wait for streaming. I mean, if you wait for streaming, it could come in like a week with the money that it's making.
Damn.
that's yeah, but it is such a really fun movie. It doesn't need to be super complicated and complex and just, super like in depth. It has enough emotional depth and character moments in order to enjoy this movie. And I'm totally in love with it. And for me, this is a very special movie in my heart. And I don't know. I think that's all I have to say. I feel like I'm just going to keep rambling at this point. So I don't know. What do you have like any concluding thoughts? Anything that we didn't get to maybe?
No, I mean we went over everything, the movie, what we liked, what we didn't like. You know, I just think people should really go out to see it, to support it.
Go out with your families, man.
Yeah,
this is a family movie.
It's a family movie.
Despite
really
all the
is.
cussing that we hear, there's so much cussing in Spanish.
Yeah,
so much pendejos.
But the subtitles aren't even there for some of that because I mean, that's like maybe the one thing. Sometimes, they're speaking in Spanish and I'm just like, what are they saying? And it's just like,
Alvin, very random.
You were just like, oh, they're just saying random stuff. It's not like important to like the story, but I'm just like, I'm nosy. I need to know everything. Tell me.
Yeah, for somebody who don't speak Spanish, you'll think you're missing out on important dialogue.
Yeah, but it's just like,
But that was like only one scene where they cut out the subtitles.
But most of the important things that you need to know, like in the story, like the plot, where it's going and stuff, it has subtitles. So like that's like the only thing, which isn't like a big deal. And then like I said, I would have liked a little bit more lore on the scarab itself. That would have been good. But I think the pacing was fine. It was more than fine. It was good. I think it's definitely worth seeing. I was hyped for the trailer when I saw it. I was like, okay, this looks like it's going to be good. Mm-hmm. I think this is going to be a good movie. It's going to do what it needs to do. I don't know what a blue beetle is, but I think that it's going to do what it needs to do, DC or not, or however bad their movies has been. I was actually excited for this.
Yeah,
surprisingly so, because we had the Flash. I mean, we had that whole Ezra Miller thing still going on and stuff like that. So that was surrounding that thing. I wasn't excited for the Flash, not even because of Ezra Miller. I was just like,
because of the reputation of DC.
The reputation of DC, the fact that it is basically linked to Justice League, whatever. Yeah, all that stuff is like, those weren't good. They weren't good to me. I didn't think they were good. I know they weren't good to a lot of people. So I was like, that's what that's going to be. This one is fresh, refreshing. It did something different. I'm glad that they didn't like have Wonder Woman show up with her stupid theme music at some point.
God. They've been doing that a lot lately. I'm just like, what are you doing here?
And she's just like, I saw your whole family basically died, and I came to say this and leave. Like, So I'm glad this was just what it was.
A standalone movie. Yeah. I forgot to mention, it's very isolated. You guys do not have to see previous DC movies to get what's going on. The only very thin connections they have is really just random throwaway references to Batman and Superman. Yeah. But they never specify any events. And it's really a self-contained movie, which I have been fucking craving for like 10 years now.
Yeah.
Standalone movies that don't have to connect to anything.
And you see, this could be brought into something, like, if they actually, like...
Yeah, it could.
It could be like, okay, we had Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle's going to come and team up with so-and-so in a future movie because we actually had an actual story, a plot. Yeah. Like, why can't DC get it together? We had Marvel, Iron Man starting 2008. We had, like, this whole decade long, okay, it ended, their story ended. They had a breather. Were you not taking notes, DC? Were you not taking the notes you needed? Because right after Marvel and, I'm Tony Stark, snap this, snap that, you guys could have jumped in, started your own decade-long story going, and you could have just done it right. But you still don't get it. They don't get it. And I just don't know why, because
they put concept before story. That's all they cared about.
Which is just so ridiculous to me. Yeah. I'm just like... I'm not like, oh, I'm only Marvel fan or whatever. I'm more like
I'm a fan of good movies.
Exactly. I'm a fan of good movies. I do not have superhero fatigue or whatever it is. I am sick and tired of the shit content and movies and, these little mini series of 6 episodes that don't flesh out or do anything.
Don't get me started.
Like, I'm tired of that. And I just feel like, why hasn't DC been taking notes? Why haven't they set up something that we can love? Yeah, of course, Marvel hasn't had all great movies. We got that Thor 2. We got, some other like nonsense. Every once in a while there's like a shitty movie that comes out, but it fits into the story somehow, and I think DC needs to be taking notes. They just need to step back and do that.
Well, they're doing that. They're finally rebooting this thing.
But they're not rebooting Wonder Woman.
Well, that's We'll get to talk about that off screen because
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, no. But no, they are doing a hard reboot from what we hear. So hopefully they'll finally take their notes, understand that they just got to make good individual movies that can lead up to something, because that's all that Marvel did. And it sucks that Blue Beetle's suffering because of that, because this is a well-deserved win for Blue Beetle. And it's in that limbo stage. Because it's so disconnected from the previous DC movies, it could easily be attached to like the future reboot movies if they decide they want to do that.
They should.
But I mean, either way, I'm just glad that we have this movie. Even if it doesn't have a continuation, we're always going to have this movie in existence, and I can rewatch it and I can still appreciate it. And I'm just really happy that we have Jaime Reyes portrayed on screen. I never got exposed to Blue Beetle. I don't read American comics. I don't know anything about it. I do research sometimes. And for this to be my first exposure to the Blue Beetle character, I think it was like a perfect win for me. I get to see very authentic Latino representation as a superhero. And I feel like it's a movie that I'm going to revisit for years to come. Whether we get sequels or not, we're always going to have that movie at least.
And we could potentially get a sequel with the ending that it had.
With the mid-credit scene.
Mid-credit scene with, what is it, Ted Kord?
Ted Kord sending a message.
Yeah, he's actually alive, even though we mentioned earlier that in the movie everyone thought he was missing or dead. But at the end, in his little, beetle hideout, a signal comes through, and it's like a SOS, basically. He's like, tell my daughter that I'm alive, and here are the coordinates or whatever, and... that could potentially set up something new.
That's what I love. I like that that was a setup for a direct sequel, not a tie-in to the next Flash movie with Green Lantern and fucking Boogerface.
Oh,
like it's actually it felt like a setup for a direct standalone sequel. But regardless, we're always gonna have this movie, and I really hope that it gains a bigger following. Even if it's not in the theaters, if it becomes a cult classic and gets revitalized, I hope that happens for this movie, because this really just felt like a nice, fun movie to watch. Even if you're not Latino and you're not part of that community, I think you can take away something from this family story that you can relate to as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's exactly how I felt with Black Panther. I'm not African, but I was so hyped for that movie throughout the entire story, and I fell in love with the characters and the world. And I got those same vibes from this movie. It's not as big as that story, and it's fine. It's still very impactful. It's still a very fun watch, and it's very intense. And all I can say is go see this. If you're mildly interested, I would say give it a shot.
Yeah. Honestly, I think the reason why I was so interested was that one shot in the trailer where he pulls out that Zanpakuto looking sword. and I was like, oh shit. I was like, that looks so cool. I mean, everything else in the trailer looks cool, but I was like, that's what really hooked me, was that moment when he pulls that out. I was just like, oh shit, Ichigo, yes.
That would be funny if you made an anime reference too.
I know, that would have been so funny.
That's the thing that's starting to happen. Now that anime is so ubiquitous and so available for like so many audiences, now filmmakers who are fans of anime are just inserting stuff. Like I heard that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles made references to JoJo's Bizarre Adventures and
oh really?
Yeah, and Attack on Titan and all these other anime. I'm just like, I love that they get nerdy sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's funny. That's what got you into the movie. All right. If there's nothing else, do you want to go into grading?
Yeah.
The finale.
I really love this movie, and I am going to give this a loaded potato. It has everything that I guess like a kind of standalone superhero movie needs.
Yeah.
And this is the best DC has done in a minute, with their movies. And like I said multiple times, the trailer showed me what it is, what it was going to do, and it delivered. It really delivered in the movie. The pacing was great. I was never bored. I cried. I mean, I cry a lot, but I'm
jealous of you. It takes so much for me to cry. It's annoying as shit.
But this, I was emotional. It's just like they were able to like make this like, funny, wholehearted story, like make me cry still, make me feel, make me connect in the short amount of time with all this chaos going on. And I love that. I love that the suit looked great. I love that I could see the fight scenes, not just because they were like, not going too fast, but because the light was there. They had some light on set. And I really enjoy this. I definitely would love to see this again. And I think this is one of those movies where I'm gonna put this on.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna put this on. I'm gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna put this on while I'm cleaning, but I'm gonna end up not cleaning the house because I'm sitting down watching it like I've never seen it before.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those movies for me.
Yeah.
And I do hope that it can be tied into something like good in the future, but I also hope that they just like leave it alone and don't try to like tie it in. But I'm just like, I also want little Miguel to get more movies and be a superhero.
I know. Xolo Maridueña really, he is a star.
Yes.
He's very charismatic.
And he's got the hair too. Like, oh, that hair.
I know, that wavy goodness.
Mm.
Yeah, I am also giving this a loaded potato. This is, again, we're going to remind people, loaded potato is a level 4 out of 5. Mm-hmm. So close to perfect. It's got all the goods. It's got the bacon, the cheese, whatever you want in that potato is loaded. Loaded with good stuff. It's not perfect, but it's really good. Mm-hmm. Some stuff missing there. A little bit of lore missing. Yeah. That's fine. There's some things with character decisions, like with Ignacio, that I didn't fully get on board with, but again, it was fine. I really, really love this movie. I wish this was the type of quality that we consistently got from DC, because they've shown that they can kind of do this sometimes, like with the first Shazam movie. I really like Shazam.
I know you did.
No, a lot of people hate on it, but that was a really nice family story. Yeah. Considering that it was about chosen family, not biological family. Mm-hmm. We get like movies like The Suicide Squad.
Not
the 2016 or 17 one that came out.
Damn, that was that long ago.
Yeah. I wish we got this consistency of quality or higher, because this is exactly what I look for in an action movie. It doesn't have to be the deepest. It doesn't have to be the most like complicated in terms of themes and storytelling and characters and symbolism. It can be something as simple as seeing yourself reflected on screen, your situations, your culture, your people. You get a chance to be the superhero this time. It's not always going to be a white guy. And I really love that we finally got our chance. And I really hope that this opens the gates for more opportunities for different Latino superheroes. Whether we get indigenous Latinos, we get black Latinos, or we even freaking Asian Latinos. People forget that there's Asian people who are Latino. Mm. Like hopefully that busts down doors of more representation in an authentic way. I love this movie. It's so fun. I can't wait to rewatch it this Wednesday with my dad. I hope he likes it, because I really thought about him, and I think he would really like this. I'm giving this a low potato. It's so good. Go watch it, guys. And that's basically it on my end. So with that, guys, that basically wraps up our episode. Yes. Our discussion on Blue Beetle. We're going to leave polls and comments or polls and questions for our Spotify listeners. I hate that I can't do stuff like Apple Podcasts and everything. They don't have like any functions for that. I wish we could do that.
Yeah, that'll be Apple Podcasts 15 or 16 some years from now.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll leave questions and polls, and we want to hear from you guys what you've thought about this movie if you've seen it, and if you haven't, let us know why you're not going to go see it. I'm really curious to hear what people's thoughts are on this movie. So we'll do that. So that'll be it for us. I just want to remind everyone listening that you can follow us on whatever platform that you're streaming on, whether Spotify, podcast, whether it's Apple Podcast. Just click that follow button so that you don't miss out on any of our episodes. And follow our social media as well. We've got that posted in the links as well.
Yes. Instagram, Twitter, not X.
Twitex.
Gosh, that makes me... Let's not do
a rant for another day.
Yes.
Yeah, so follow us. Give us a like, subscribe, follow our social media, because we don't want you guys to miss out on any new episodes. And that'll do it for us, guys. So thank you for listening to another installment of The Most Potato.
Yes.
We will see you guys on the next one. Stay safe out there. Be kind. And Blue Beetle.
Out.